Welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Thank you for being with us. I'm so glad that you're back. I have had the pleasure of only interviewing children's authors maybe 4 times. And I'm so excited to have Ron Kinscherf with us because he writes, he's a prolific writer, and he writes children's books. So this is going to be fun. All you parents, aunties, uncles, grandmas, grandpas, this is going to be really, really good. Let me just tell you a little bit about Ron. He was, for a long time, he was an IT consultant. Introduce myself. I'm Karen E. Osborne, your host. Hey, just in case you're new. And he's an IT consultant and he turned writer. And he has 2 books coming out this year, which is so impressive. And we're going to talk about them. And we're going to talk about his career and anything else that kind of hits us. So welcome, Ron.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
I am delighted to have you on. So from IT to writing children's books, like how did that come about?
Yeah, so what happened was I was in IT consulting slash sales for 30 some years, and I kind of just got tired of it. As you get older and the rat race and dealing with sales quotas and things along those lines. So I just kind of quit. So I was looking for my next adventure. And in the meantime, you can see over my shoulder there that I've had grandkids in the last 5 years. Um, so obviously I have a few and have all of them in town now. So when I played with them, we played very imaginatively ways. And then one afternoon, I was putting one down for a nap, and he asked me to make up a story. So I made up a story, and then he asked his mom to do the same thing, and she wasn't too thrilled that that was a path that he was going down. So one evening we were just sitting around talking, and she goes, "Why don't you start writing those down and start writing children's books?" But I didn't take it seriously. I was still looking for normal jobs, and then I got an idea, and I just started writing and had some people around here read them, and they really liked them and suggested I start publishing them. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I've always been creative. My degree's in radio and TV, so I was on radio for a number of years, and I did play-by-play for a number of years. So it wasn't that far-fetched, but yeah, I never thought I'd be down the path I am right now. That this was not in my mirror or rear view mirror at all. This was not something I anticipated, but I'm having a blast.
Uh,
I've never been happier professionally. It's a blast.
that is so cool. It's funny because when my children were little and now with my grandchildren, I make up stories with them all the time. And my nephew says to me, Remy, my Karen, you should write some of those stories down. But I like writing adult fiction,
Yeah,
but oh, who knows? Maybe this is in my future somewhere as
yeah.
well. So I loved your covers. I just loved your covers. Do you have some of your books around that you could share?
I
Some of those.
No, I can go run and get some. I don't have them with me though. I'm not in
You
my
don't
office
have
currently.
your books with you?
Well, they are on my laptop, Karen, but I don't have them with me. I can run and get them.
Run and get them.
All right,
Can you be
take 2 seconds.
fast? Okay, he's going to be 2 seconds. So while he's running and getting them, I just want to remind you that True Grace is out. It's my first historical fiction. It takes place in 1924 in Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance in the Roaring Twenties. And you can get it. It's audio and physical and ebook, and that's it. Those are the 3. So I was just doing a commercial while you were gone, Ron, so it worked out perfectly.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Let's see these gorgeous
All
covers.
right, so here's one. This is called The Monster. Again, I've got 2 series of books out, and one is about a family of ants or a colony of ants that lives underneath a brick patio. And that's the idea I got when I started writing. So I was outside grilling one night, and my grandson started stomping on all the ant hills. And I thought about it
Oh,
from the ants' point of view that they're probably not real thrilled with that. So I wrote a story about that, about the ants having their anthill smashed and them not knowing what it is. If you think about it, they don't know what people are. So all of a sudden, their world's coming to an end as their colony starts to shake and rattle and collapse. So they had a problem to solve. So that's the first of the series. So this is just another one of the monster. And this is something I've always wondered about is what happens when a bug gets in your car and you drive away? He's never going to go home again, possibly.
Taken from his
He's
family, every
taken from his
place.
family and friends. So one of the ants in my colony thinks he's really brave and flies into the car, and the car takes off. And he looks through the back window and sees his world going away. So he doesn't know what's going to happen. So that's what this is about. Um, Here's one called the Sultan, and I introduce a slug in this book. And so the slug walks into the patio one day, and he is met by the prince, and he asks to see the queen. So they have to walk across the patio to see the queen. And slugs are naturally very slow, right? And ugly. The prince doesn't want, he has no patience for the slug. So as they walk across the patio, the prince is looking at his watch and come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. But the sultan is saying, steady and slow, go with the flow the whole way across. And he's enjoying the surroundings as he walks across the patio. And as the book moves along, you can see there's no color at the beginning, but then at the end, the prince recognizes that everything is beautiful in the world and everything is populated with color. So it's a book about enjoying your surroundings and not taking the world too fast.
What
And how many of
age?
these do you
What?
want me to go?
So far, I'm enjoying this immensely. What age group is that aimed at?
It would be anybody any age you read books to. I wrote them basically for 3-year-olds because that's what my grandson was at the time, 3 to 4 or 5 year olds. But there also would be good first readers for first, second graders who are starting to learn how to read. I intentionally did not use word, and again, it's interesting in this stage of life as a grandparent, you pay attention more to what you're doing because you have more time and you're not worried about what time your kids get to bed or whether you're going to make a living or not, when you've been to the grocery store, when you get the kids ready for practice. They come over, you play with them, and they go. Um, so then I was thinking about the books I was reading, and there are a lot of words in these children's books that kids don't know what they mean, and I Papa, what's that mean? So I intentionally wrote the books with words that the kids would understand. So at that age of 3, 4, and 5. So there was a lot of confusion, things along those lines. So
Like
that's
that.
basically the age group they're both written for.
So these are all both series, and I'm going to ask you about a little bit more about the different series in a minute. But both series have wonderful illustrations.
Right.
But it's not the same illustrator. Tell us about working with illustrators.
That's the funnest part for me is taking what I've imagined and having them put it on paper because I can't draw. And that's part of when I go in to talk to kids, that's part of my presentation is, here's my art. I had to find a friend to help me out. So it was during COVID and I couldn't find anybody locally. So I went on a matchmaking website for illustrators and writers, and I got
Mm,
lucky. I interviewed some people and found a gal, Holly Brogard, who does my one series, and she has a great style for the Baker's Patio series. I had a different idea for the other series, and I wanted to, if I got to the point where I was producing both series at the same time, if I got to be that popular or had that money, I want to make sure I could do both at the same time. So I found another group. This was a group of people, a group of friends from India, and there's one in the States, and interviewed them, and they had the talents I was looking for, and I went with that group for the Papa Tell Me a Book series. So that's kind of how I ended up with 2 different groups, and um, again, it's pure luck. They had the talent, but I was able to convey to them. That's the fun part: conveying what you want to do and how you want the books to lay out, and then seeing it come, produce, come in paper. So that from it, that is so. I don't know how to express it. That is the funnest part for me is watching what you think come to life.
come to life. That reminds me of a little bit about how it is working with a voice actor. You write this book and then to, audition voice actors and hear them read your words and kind of act those words a little is very like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds really exciting. So you have 2 series. What's the difference between the patio? Tell us again the name of the 2 series.
Yeah, the Baker's Patio series was the one I alluded to before, where the ants live underneath an older couple's brick patio. So the theory behind this is the couple doesn't have kids anymore, so the colony is able to thrive, doesn't have to worry about people going out there and throw a weed killer on it or stomping and smashing. So it's just multiplied. So, and they deal with problems that we deal as humans, so to speak, but they deal with them under or top of the patio. Um, so it's just my own little imaginary community I've created
Mhm.
that deal with life. Like I showed you that one, slow down, you're going too fast. I have another one. I'm with me. This is the last one that just came out. Is about an ant who wandered off to the edge of the patio, and everybody's worried about the ant because it's all by itself. But the ant just keeps saying, "I'm fine. I'm with me. I don't need anybody else." And the ant's out
Mhm.
there waiting for a friend to show up, which happens to be the sun, which is kind of the cool ending of the book. But that's kind of self-reflective because I grew up. My father passed away when I was early, so I was alone a lot. But I was okay. I was playing with myself, playing by myself. So that's kind of the story behind that one. So that's that story. That's the Baker's Patio series, and the other is the Papa Tell Me a Book series, which is kind of how this started, where I made up stories for my grandson. So the idea behind this one is the grandpa walks to the room to put the kid down for a nap, and he asks the grandpa to make up a story on the spot, and the the kid picks the topic. And remember, it's a 3-year-old. It could be anything in the entire room.
Okay.
So the first one he picked was a ceiling fan. So the grandpa has to make up a story about a ceiling fan on the spot. Um, and the second one's about a blanket. The kid's sleeping with a blanket. So he makes up a story
Mhm.
about a blanket. Um,
Mhm.
what I did with the illustrations for these is I have a like a watercolory Winnie the Pooh-ish type illustration for when the grandpa's talking, but then the little boy falls asleep and he dreams the rest of the story. So then it goes very
Oh.
childish as far as the artwork goes. Um, and
Oh, yeah.
and a
Because
little
now the
boy,
kid is telling the story.
now the kid's telling the story through his dream. And then the grandpa goes in to check on him. He wakes up and then he has a little smart little thing he says at the end of the story to wrap things up. And it might have something to do with what happened in Dream. And the funny thing about that series is these are things my grandkids actually have said to me a lot of times. So, well,
Do you
then
give
my
them
grandson,
credit? Do you give them
no,
book
no, no, no.
credit?
They'll get it eventually. The money will trickle down, or the debt will trickle down to these kids, Karen. So eventually they will get the credit. But yeah, but they think it's funny because they'll say, "Papa, it doesn't say that." Can they make me read it again and again because stuff they have actually said. So that's kind of cute. But
Oh,
those are the two
wonderful.
series are pretty distinct from each other. The Baker's Patio series has more messages, that type of thing within it, and the Papa Tell Me a Book series is just fun. Although the one coming out at Christmas time does have a bit of a message in it.
So let's talk about that. You have two books coming out,
Yeah.
right? You have one coming out in October, did you say?
Yes.
Right when this is going to be aired. And then you have one coming out in December.
Yeah. So the one in October is called Yummies. So this wasn't my idea, so I'm really not happy about it. But somebody said you should write a book about Halloween with the Baker's Patio series. I go, they don't celebrate Halloween. They're ants. And they go, well,
Ants.
what if somebody dropped candy on the patio? I was like, ah. So the basic gist of this is there's a lollipop that's dropped on the patio, and the ants are told to stay away from yummies. They're bad for you. Don't eat the yummies. This is the time of year, it's fall, that you'll see these things on the patio. Stay away. So the prince is like the immature second in command. He always runs into the different trials and tribulations. He's basically I guess, a reflection of me that the things you have to do as you mature. He sees one on the patio and he goes, I can do this. I can handle it. So he tastes the yummy over and over again. And he basically has a sugar high and can't stop flying fast. And he ends up in a colony and smashes into things. And the queen is very unhappy with him. They have to give him a special potion, so to speak, to get him to calm down. And he basically gets grounded. So that's what Yummies is about. Um, so the Papa Tell Me a Book one that's coming out at Christmas is the little boy is going down at night and wants a story. So Grandpa has to make up a story about elves because he's sleeping with the elf, kind of like the one on the Elf on the Shelf.
Mm.
So the grandpa has to make up a story about an elf. So he comes up with a story about little boys who are bad. Doesn't have time. Little boys and girls doesn't have time to deliver the coal. So the coal elves deliver the coal to the bad boys and girls. So the moral of this story is the little boy kind of lies at the beginning of the story about something. It's just a real small little fib, and then when he dreams the story, he finds out that little girls get coal because they've done certain things to their. So at the end, when he wakes up, he apologizes to his grandpa for lying. So that this book I'm really excited about because it's just kind of when you write, a lot of times you don't know how the end is going to come. You just start writing and writing and writing. So I wrote this the first time about there's a strand of lights on the headboard, and the grandpa says, "Hey, I'm going to turn these off so we can go to sleep." And the boy goes, "No, no, 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 no. Mommy lets me leave these on at night." And the grandpa's not sure, but he'll come in and check later. So I was writing it. And then the second time I went through, it's like, you know what? This ties in with the coal elves delivering coal to bad girls and boys. If he did lie, and at the end he would apologize for telling that little lie about, Papa, I'm sorry, Mommy makes me turn these off at night. And you know how little kids try to take advantage of any little thing they can get with their grandparents.
Oh,
So,
yes.
so that's somewhat an unintentional moral that kind of came out of writing the story as it worked its way out. But
That's
the
so
artwork,
great.
it's yeah. So we had to kind of invent these coal elves and a coal farm where they find just they the reindeer they use are in training for Santa's sleigh. But that's kind of the gist. And I'm really I've never written a quote unquote book specific for a holiday, and I wasn't planning on doing it until I got this idea. And I really like how it turned out. I know that sounds it's I of course I like everything I write, but this one it's going to be pretty cool.
That sounds so good. Well, you've just sold me. I have a 4-year-old. My youngest grandson is 4 years old, and I love the patio series. Just everything you said about it just sounds so perfect. So I can't wait to get him some copies, and I'll look out for when Elves comes out
Yeah,
for Christmas. So you just sold some books right here. There you
there
go.
you go. Thank you.
And tell us, are you so, not that you haven't done so much already, but are you working on anything else right now?
Um, so what's funny is when I first started, a couple of years ago writing, I got so many ideas when I started writing the Baker's Patio series that I've got like 7 or 8 or 9 stories kind of in the queue that I haven't produced yet. But I keep getting ideas and I keep writing different stories. Like the I'm with me one just popped in my head. The elves one just popped in my head. So I have a lot to select from. But the issue is with children's books is the cost to produce.
Mm.
And I've got these will be my ninth and 10th book I've produced in the last 3 years. So financially, it kind of cascades
It's
upon
a
yourself.
loser.
Yeah,
Right.
because you're paying for book one while you're producing book two, but your illustrators needs money. So you're chasing your tail constantly. I'm trying to figure out um the methodology behind. Yeah, I've never done this before. I don't know, and I don't know who to
But have
talk
you
to.
thought about going to a small press?
Yes, but the challenge with that is I've got my illustrators already picked out, and generally the presses want to help you make those decisions. Is what I'm finding out.
Uh,
I may be completely wrong. So
you're wrong.
so
You're
we'll
wrong.
maybe we can talk about
Let's
that
talk
offline.
offline. You could get this, you could solve this money problem.
Okay.
I'll talk to you we don't want to, we're not going to talk about it
No,
now,
no, no.
guys, because we're talking about reading and writing right now. So
Yeah.
we'd
So
love to leave. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
the one I'm thinking about doing next is about how girls sell Girl Scout cookies, right? So there's a little girl ant who sells ant snacks, and the trials and tribulations of this little ant selling ant snacks to the colony. So that might be the next one that's coming out. So in the what she learns through the course of selling these ant snacks, and it's kind of self-reflective too, because as I mentioned, my father passed away, so my mom was working, so I was late to get my license. I was always late doing those type of things that my friends were doing because their mom could help them do that type of stuff. So it's kind of self-reflective there, where this aunt's mom didn't have time to take her anthill to anthill to anthill to sell the snacks. So without giving too
Please.
much away. I guess I could, but anyway, I don't know how it's going to come out yet.
That's true of most of my books. I don't know how. And then people ask me after but after they finish, they say, but then what happened? And I said, what do you think happened? Because,
Right.
I'm hopeful, but what do you think? So we like this is what are you reading? What are you writing? And I wonder if you have a recommendation for our audience of something that you've read that you'd like to share.
Well, that was tough for me when I saw that question because I didn't know if you're going to talk about kids' books or adult books because
Anything that you read,
I don't
anything you
sit around
read.
and read kids' books all day long. But I read a lot of Baldacci and Greg Iles and stuff like that.
Mm, me too.
That's the type of stuff I like. And Michael, I like the Cadillac Man series by Connolly. So I read. That's the type of stuff I like to
You
read. I
mean you
don't.
mean the Lincoln Lawyer guy? Lincoln
Sorry,
Lawyer?
yeah, I said Cadillac. The Lincoln Lawyer series by Michael Connolly, and that's the type of stuff I like. The Isles series, the Bone Tree series was really good, by Greg Iles, I think is his name. So that's the type of stuff I read. I have a friend that basically has a library in her house that loans books to me all the time. So I just go through her books.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
I think Grisham was great at the beginning. I think he's kind of got he right. What I don't understand, and maybe how these people produce so many of these novels in so many different characters. Like Baldacci has Memory Man, and he has the Camel Club, and he has these other things he's got going on. He's got to be doing them all at the same time, and I don't have the capacity to know how to put a meal together, much less this type of stuff.
They
So,
probably have help.
oh, I completely, yeah, I'm sure they do. But I was talking to somebody about that last night, and oh, my Lord, that's a lot of brain power. I have a hard
It
time putting
is.
three
It is,
pages of
especially to produce at a high level
yeah,
every time.
yeah.
So we're running out of time. And I did want you to share for me and for everybody how they can find you. How can they find these books? How can they purchase these books? How can they learn more about you?
Oh, that's easy. So Amazon has my books. Any place where you can find books, basically. Also, my website is papatomiabook.com, and it's got everything on there about me. It's got my my illustrator's bio. It has all the books. It has previews of the books. It has all my reviews. Um, and that's when I found out I was kind of good at this. And I don't know about you, Karen. You think you're good, but until you have people who don't know you read them.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and so I
People
had
who don't know you. Yes.
correct, and I've gotten some really good reviews. So that's when I got more confident about producing. So but that's basic gist of it. PapaTellMeABook.com. There's a video out there, about a 2.5 minute, 3 minute video that tells the story of how this all came about. But yeah, those places is where you get more information. And if you want to
Right.
follow me, I'm on Facebook, and I do a lot of posting of the process I go through. Like for Yummies, I posted the 6 different covers of the book because it's kind of a funny joke I have with my illustrator for that series is I'll actually draw the first cover, and then so I'll post that, then I post what she does, and then we go through the process. And I'd let my followers go down that trek with me because when I started, I mean, this isn't me. It's everybody that I know is going on this path with me because they've been so supportive and didn't tell me I was a moron for writing children's books at the ripe old age of 59. So
Really good. I hope that all of you will go and find Ron. Go look at his website. I've had the pleasure of visiting it and seeing it. It's a very active website, lots of stuff going on, and that you will follow him on Facebook. And did you say that you're on Instagram as well?
yeah, I'm on Instagram, and it's Papa Tell Me Book. I don't think the A's in there. So Papa Tell Me Book, I'm out there.
Tell me a book.
Yep.
Okay. And I hope that you are already following me on YouTube, on my author Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter, X. Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us. Until next time, on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Have a great week, everybody.